I do think we've talked about these three things, meaning vaccine progress, Fed liquidity, and now you have this fiscal package that was done. And the reason that's so important is because it is the bridge between now and when we all get a vaccine, right? And I don't know when that's going to be. Scott, is that first quarter? Is that second quarter? Is that second half? But it is coming. And as a result, I think you're going to see growth reaccelerate in GDP and also in earnings. I'm not expecting multiple expansion. We got that this past year, right? We're not going to get that next year. But we are going to have, I think, higher earnings. And I want to own the reopened stocks because their earnings have gotten hit so much harder, and they will see a much stronger recovery as we reopen.
So, Michael Farr, you take what John has seen and what Mr. Petterfy has said and what Steph's perspective is, and you sort of meld into what Tom Lee has told us. And he's looking for S&P 4,000 in the early part of 2021. He says, quote, strong markets finish strong. President Trump signs a relief bill, better late than never. The third wave of COVID is rolling over, he says, even though you're seeing hospitalizations and deaths continue to rise, and that's a lagging indicator. And something obviously to be concerned about. And there's growing market skepticism about the rally. All of that, and the likes of which we've just talked about, are reasons why the market's going to go 4,000, 10% upside before maybe you have a correction. What do you think?
Sure. I mean, yes, maybe we see that 10% upside before you have the correction. I'd be interested in asking Tom Petterfy if there's been a shift in his customer base, because if it really has become more institutional, then perhaps there's a higher percentage of hedging going on. This strikes me as a short-term protection move. It sure looks like a trade. You've got indexes making all-time highs. Coming into year end, Steph mentioned the Georgia election. We have to see what sort of bill actually makes it through the Senate here for spending and everything else. So when stocks are making new all-time highs, it certainly makes sense you would have some pullback at some point. And it sounds like that option activity is sort of protecting themselves, if not anticipating some profits, should we get that pullback. But longer term, what does 2021 look like? S&P estimates are up 22%, earnings estimates for 2021. Stuff's high, but you get 20% earnings increases, even if you get that multiple contraction Steph talked about, you get decent returns in stocks. Whenever I feel that way, I start to get nervous just because I'm nervous. But it strikes me as a short-term trade, Scott, right now for the options, not a long-term trade.
Yeah, I mean, look, even Weiss yesterday, if you all will recall, he had his bear
Even
spread
Weiss?
on. It's an options way of another options way of sort of hedging your bets and protecting to some maybe expected downside that he sees, as well as you get into the Georgia runoffs and some other things happen. Tiffany, what's your view? And then I want to switch directions before I get to Josh. Tiff?
Yeah, so much. I mean, first of all, again, I'm not a trader. I'm a long-term investor. And I think that, we do have some, tailwinds. Finally, we do have stimulus. But I'm concerned about how long it takes for those stimulus checks to get in the hands of the American people. Last time it took a few months. The IRS, this is their busy time of the year. So, I know there's been talk about checks getting into the hands of American people rather quickly. But I want to wait and see how long that's actually going to take, because the reality of it is that, the market is not the economy. But I think long term, the market depends on the economy, depends on spending. And so the reality for a lot of American people is that, moratoriums on evictions and, foreclosures are going to be up. And so I want to see what that other, what support kind of lies there for American people. And I want to see, how long before they can get some relief. Mm-hmm. Also on my mind is how many people will actually take the vaccine. I think that there needs to be a lot of education around that. And so, again, we're talking second quarter, even in the third quarter, 2021, for us to really see kind of like the implications of all this stuff. Yeah.